The chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Muhammad Nami, has been accused of unlawful retirement of 9 directors of the agency to pave the way for his allies. The government of late President Umaru Yar'Adua had instituted a civil service rule which made it compulsory for directors to retire after serving for 8 years. However, the regime of the President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, rescinded that directive. According to new regulations, civil servants are to leave service after attaining the retirement age of 60 or spending 35 years in service. A circular was said to have been issued to indicate the suspension of the earlier order. With reference to Letter No. /Gaz/100/A/1462 dated June 17, 2016, I write to convey Mr. President's directive that the tenure policy in the Federal Civil Service is suspended with immediate effect. This notice is for the attention of all concerned for compliance. The letter, signed by a former head of service, Mrs. Winifred Yar'Adua, said. The new regulation was reportedly upheld by the former chairman of the FIRS, Mr. Babatunde Fowler, as no director was retired as long as they had not crossed the retirement benchmark. However, after Nami assumed office in November 2019, he was said to have instructed that directors who had served for 8 years be retired. 9 directors received retirement letters in March 2020. A copy of the letter, signed by Nami, the board of the Federal Inland Revenue Service at its emergency meeting number 2 held on March 20, 2020, approved the retirement of all directors who have served 8 years and above as directors in the service in line with Para 10, 1A, 3, of HRPP. Accordingly, you are hereby notified of your compulsory retirement from the service with immediate effect. The affected directors were Victory Kundeo, Career and Skills Development, Mrs. Kemi Adesanya, Facility, Emmanuel Obeta, Chairman's Office, Kiaka Ako, Program Office Non-Tax, Mr. Kola Akunola, ICT, Dr. Ashaik Majugu, Planning and Statistics, Mr. Innocent Ohagwa, Human Capital Development, Mr. Ezra Zubair, Programs and Policy Monitoring, and Mr. Alufemi Fanii, Team Lead Tax Operations Group. A few days later, the FIRS chairman issued another memo to announce the appointment of new directors and a special assistant. The new appointees included Director, Finance, and Accounts, Ahmed Musa, Special Assistant Technical to the Executive Chairman, Mustafa Ndajimo, Director, Internal Affairs and Efficiency, Ahmed Ndanyusa, Director, Communication and Liaison Department, Abdullah Ismaila, and Acting Director, Executive Chairman's Office, Aisha Mohammed. Aside from the new appointees not being members of staff of the FIRS, they were reported to be Nups, the same ethnic group with the Niger state-born Nami. It was said that paragraph 10 to 1A, 3, of the FIRS Human Resources Policies and Processes, HRPP, on which the retirement decision was based stated that directors who had attained 8 years in the position should be retired. However, paragraph 1.8.1 of the HRPP said whatever was written in the book was subject to the amendment of extant circulars. One of the retired directors alleged that the chairman had a plan, hence his decision not to comply with the government circular which had already suspended the paragraph 10. Without taking recognition of the circular, the chairman just asked all the 9 directors to retire. He quoted paragraph 10, but ignored the paragraph 1. He added. Paragraph 2.22 of the rule stated that contract appointment should only be made where the required skills and competence are not available within the service. Another retired director claimed that there were 750 chartered accountants in the FIRS. You are bringing in a contract worker as an internal auditor, when there are a lot of qualified people in the system. You are bringing somebody from outside as the Director of Finance and Account, when there are many chartered accountants. You are bringing in people as Directors of Communication and Chairman's Office, when there are people with the skills. A retired director said the appointments also negated the federal character policy. He appointed 4 directors as contract staff, No advertisement of the positions, nothing. No other ethnic group was represented in violation of the federal character policy. They are all his allies, he added. The directors lamented that they were retired unceremoniously and illegally despite having several years before attaining 35 years in service. The FIRS, however, said its actions were not in defiance of the presidential directive suspending tenure policy in the federal civil service. The Director of Communications and Liaison Department, Abdullah Ismaila, in a statement, said the government parastatal acted within its powers. He said, "The FIRS is not part of the civil service, but part of public service. The FIRS, Central Bank of Nigeria, Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, are part of public service, not civil service. This informs, for instance, NNPC, CAC, whenever there is a leadership change, most of the senior officers are usually retired to pave way for their subordinates because they have separate boards to authorize such actions." The FIRS is governed under the FIRS Establishment Act 2007, which has given it autonomy to hire and fire without recourse to civil service rules, but to its own rule and therefore not part of civil service. He noted that the board was also kind enough not to recover the salaries and allowances earned by directors who had spent above the legal 8 years. The retirement of the directors by the FIRS board is in accordance with the HRPP and in public interest and to create vacancies for the existing staff of the service who have remained stagnated, he added. On the appointment of the new directors and special assistants, Ismaila said due process was followed, adding that they were contract officers engaged for 2 years to carry out specific assignments. The 4 directors are employed on contract basis in line with Section 2.22 of the FIRS HRPP and approved by the FIRS Board. FIRS HR